Hey everybody, my name is Aaron Moore, and today I'm going to be talking about the Bronze Age collapse. I'm a history major here at Mitchell, and I have a love and a passion for learning from the past and history in general. I hope to one day get my master's in anthropology at George Washington University up in DC. The Bronze Age collapse can be marked by an almost total collapse of globalized societies caused by several factors, including environmental change, mass migration, pandemics, and the collapse of governments and cities all throughout the Middle East and the Mediterranean. The societies of New Kingdom Egypt, the Mycenaean Greeks, Cyprus, Assyria, and Babylon were all connected pretty closely through economic trade and military power. We can see evidence of this, such as clay tablets being found in Egypt using cuneiform writing for diplomatic missions to places like Canaan, which is modern-day Palestine and Israel, up to Turkey, which is pretty far for the time. Trade at this time was flourishing very, very well. Ships, they would basically go in a clockwise pattern around the Mediterranean, bringing wealth and other goods, trading everywhere they could around the Mediterranean. It was a pretty good time to own a boat. We found a shipwreck relatively recently off the west coast of Turkey in the Mediterranean Sea, carrying basically what would amount to like a medium to small size fortune for the time. It included stuff like gold, glass ingots, lavender, lapis lazuli, handcrafted jewelry, 149 Canaanite jars, cooked and raw copper ingots, cooked and raw tin ingots, which those two together make copper, and 130 separate other categories of cargo, all found within that ship. Archaeologists figure that it was probably a gift from king to king that just got shipwrecked off the coast. Up in Greece, the Mycenaeans would mainly buy raw goods from the kingdoms around them and would make stuff like jewelry, perfumes, wines, wool. That's what we find a lot of the times. Cyprus is an island right below Greece and above Egypt that was the largest producer of copper at the time, making so much that the name Cyprus actually comes from the ancient Greek word for copper. So without this small island surrounding these huge kingdoms, the power of these kingdoms would be minuscule without it. The Hittites, which is in modern-day Turkey or Anatolia, they had a lot of tin that they would trade. That was their main source of income. They were also pretty successful military-wise, basically covering all of modern-day Turkey. Babylon and Assyria would often use donkey caravans to trade to Egypt and the Hittites to Greeks. Babylon is pretty deep in the Middle East, so they're further away from the Mediterranean, so they have to make longer trips. What led to their collapse? What led to the collapse of these civilizations is a multifaceted and complex situation. Anthropologists at the time, for the time period, associate three main reasons with individual sub-reasons for the collapse. Environmental. Volcanoes were actually a big problem for the time. Egyptologists placed volcanic eruptions in Iceland to cause famine and crop failure during the time of King Ramses III, and may have caused a volcanic winter. Other volcanic eruptions in the Aegean Sea, Greece, would have caused earthquakes and mass migrations from Greek people into other places along the Middle East. Drought. This was probably the driest period for the Bronze Age. Tree cover in many parts of Europe dwindled, and because of this, mass migration of people followed, looking for better climates in the Mediterranean. In the southern Levant, which is Palestine, Israel, groundwater levels dropped around 50 meters or 164 feet. So not a lot of water. People are, dying because they don't have water. Drought also affected the Nile Valley, leading to crop failure and starvation, not just for Egypt, but for their trading partners as well. For almost all of history, Egypt is seen as like a breadbasket. It was for this time period and for Rome, and even now, it's a pretty big producer of food. Pandemic. The Mycenaean Greeks, the Hittites, and the Levant were all affected by the arrival of now extinct strands of the bubonic plague, brought in by what are called the Sea Peoples, mass migrating peoples from probably Italy and Greece and other places, or it could have been from people migrating from Central Asia. So for cultural reasons, the invention of ironworking during the 12th and 13th centuries for modern-day Bulgaria and Romania saw a slow increase in popularity. Iron was more abundant than bronze and is superior when it comes to weaponizing militaries. This allowed for stronger militaries, which overwhelmed chariots using that Bronze Age superpowers would use. Including that, the changes in warfare, new weapons and production of these weapons caused an arms race in the Near East, giving rise to metal casting. That's like pouring liquid instead of hammering it to make a weapon, so is a lot quicker than doing that. Weapons like spears would have glittered battlefields, along with skirmishers who would run at chariots to overwhelm them. The loss of chariots would have been a devastating blow to these Near East economies of the Bronze Age. The chariots were so expensive to make. Just like a loss of them, it's about like $70,000 in today's money, which is insane for back then. Especially like they would train these horses since birth to just work in chariots. It's an amazing time loss and money sink just losing one. Another theory is general systems collapse. This is a theory stating that when societies get too complex, members of that society will revert to simpler ways of life. With the context that I've given above, the Middle East and the Eastern Mediterranean societies were very fragile and prone to collapsing from the inside out. Rebellions reached all over the region, and letters from monarchs and governments spoke to what was happening from the people from outside forces. This is a letter from King Amurapi. I don't know. I hope I'm saying that right. To his father at the time. My father, behold, my enemy ships, my cities were burned, and they did evil things to my country. Does my father not know that all my troops and chariots are in the land of the Hittites, and my ships in the land of Lucca? Thus the country is abandoned to itself. May my father know it. The 7 ships of my enemy that came here inflicted much damage upon us. This clay tablet was found inside of like a destroyed city at the time. So, like I said, the late Bronze Age collapse is a super fascinating time in human history for me. And it shows us how fast our lives can change. I see it as a parallel to the present day, just in our lifetimes, that we had to deal with climate change, pandemics, mass migration, and war. To better ourselves and future generations, we must have the strength to face these challenges head on, or we're going to crumble like our ancestors did. Thank you.